Hello everybody, hope you all are doing good. In this short lecture, I want to go over some of the basic HTML tags and then show you one of the resource site that I use regularly and also recommend that you guys do, and then show you how to upload the page that I created on an external web server and submit it to the assignment and also the URL that needs to be submitted for the assignment. So let's go ahead and get started. What you see on your screen is a basic HTML page that I've already written, which utilizes some of the basic tags. Before we start going into these tags, I would also like to bring on your screen the resource that I use for referencing some of these tags, and that's the W3 Schools. So let me bring the page right here. So this is the W3 Schools, where I can go by typing in this URL www.w3schools.com. This information is also included on your syllabi. So once I go there and I click on HTML, this gives me all the HTML broken out or subdivided by the individual elements. You can also see some of the CSS. This is something that we will be using in our later part, cascading style sheets. But for right now, let's look into some of these resources. So this is my basic HTML, and it gives you an example which I can also try by myself by clicking my run, and then whatever if I want to change something over here, I can do this and do run, and it's immediately going to show it over here. So this is a site that I would really like for you all to take advantage of, which breaks down the individual elements. So even though these are the same elements that I have used in my lecture for that basic page that I had created, the only thing I did was basically utilize these things according to my needs. So these are some of the examples, and there are explanations that you will see with every single tag. Okay, so this is the resource that I would like for you to be very familiar with. So now let's go ahead and get started with the code. Everything starts with my doc type. Then I have my HTML tag, which is a paired tag, which means it has a beginning and then it also has an end right over here. The next tag I have is a meta tag. So within my HTML, I have an attribute which basically describes a little more within my HTML tag, which tells me that this language that I'm using is English. I have a header tag, and as you can see, this tag is also a paired tag with an opening head tag and a closing head tag. Pay attention to this / before every single closing tag that we use. I also have a meta tag within my head tag, which again has an attribute of character set, which identifies the UTF character set. Now this is also a special tag where you do not have the second pair of the closing. It is actually denoted by this one tag with a / over here, which says it's the opening and closing of the meta tag. Right next to it is my title tag, which allows this title over here to be displayed when I render it in my browser or within my web page. I then close my head tag and I start my body tag. Inside my body, I also have a header tag, and then I have more header elements which goes from H1 all the way to H6. These specifies that these are headings, and it also separates them. H1 and H2 is separated by the size of the text. So if I display these things within my browser, you will see the differences in sizes. I can display the page in a browser by going to Run and then choosing any one of these browsers. I will launch mine in Chrome, so that brings my page over here. So this is what I was referring to earlier, Daytona State College, and you have these 4 headings that I'm using, different H1 or heading tags with numbers that would allow me to show it or render it a little differently with our text size. So I can actually move this thing around just a little bit for me to kind of play with my code. Now then I have a little comment section over here. So this is actually a section which ends with this tag and it begins with this. So this basically tells the browser that anything within that is comments, and it does not need to show by the browser or rendered by the browser. So it is kind of left as a comment. I then have these 2 lines, and I wanted to show you all that without these break tags, if I delete it, the empty spaces that you see in this editor does not really mean anything to the browser. So if I take the break tag and save it and then refresh it, you will see that everything is now jumbled in one line. So even though in my editor, and in this case I'm using Notepad, in my editor I have separated or I have spaced. The space does not mean anything unless we put a break tag in here. Okay, now the browser understands it and separates the break tag, separates the 2 lines with the break tag. Now you can write the break tags also like this. Both of these are going to work, and if I save it over here and then do it, I'll refresh it, then I get a second break tag which gives me a little more space. I add some more text and then utilize another header tag. This is H5. As you can see, the size of it is comparatively smaller than H4 or H3. I also use paragraph tag, and that is what isolates this paragraph as a separate paragraph. Again, if I would have taken my paragraph tag out, everything would have been jumbled right next to this AA degree program. I have the second paragraph that also gives me this little space between these 2 paragraphs, and my third paragraph right here. I then use another tag called block quote, and this gives this space over here. As you can see, this is a little different than the paragraph. You see how the paragraph has, it starts over here, ends here, but your block quote kind of gives a little tab space to it. So depending upon what your needs are, you can utilize these codes. And again, in order for you to know and understand more about the code, utilize the W3 Schools. It would give you individual tags and explain what that tag would do. And then it's a matter of then taking that element or the tag and applying it on your page to get that output. I then have another set of tags called address, and what this address does is creates an address like this. Now I also wanted to show that without the break tag, everything is going to come in one line. Okay. Last but not the least, I have this pre-tag, and what pre-tag does is allows the text within the pre-tags to be displayed and rendered exactly the same way. So not only does it come in 3 different lines, but also look at the space that I have provided, and this exact space is also given out in the rendered format. Welcome back to the lecture where once I have created the two pages, and this is what I had just gone over, I want to show you how I can upload the files in an external server or a public domain. The public domain that we will be using is Alta Vista. So if I open my Alta Vista, by default it defaults to an Italian page. I'm going to go ahead and change it to EN English, and this is how it now shows. I'm going to go log in, and I'm going to log in, and I've already created an account over here, and I do have a separate lecture that goes over how to create the account in Alta Vista. And I'm going to put in my password, and I'm going to sign in. So right now, once I come over here, I go to my file management, and this is where I can click on upload files, and I can select my files, and I can then go to the particular lecture, and I can go to this, and I have named it the basic module 1 HTML code. I can open it, and I can just send my files, and that is now showing my upload is completed. So now if I click open, this is the URL that I need to send to anybody, and anybody in this world, as long as that person has an open internet connection. That person should be able to see that page on that computer. So if I take this or copy this URL and paste it on a notepad, this is going to be the URL of that page that you need to send me for every single assignment. So this is the URL of your public domain. Now this page that you have also needs to be uploaded in the correct assignment folder. Since this is only one page, you do not have a need of zipping it. However, in most of the other assignments, you are going to be having multiple pages and sometimes images, so they need to be put into the right folder structure and then zip together and uploaded to the assignment folder. And then these files also need to be uploaded in a public domain, and Alta Vista is our choice. If you have a separate public domain that you would like to upload it to, I have no problems with it. But what I'm trying to get at is I would like for your work to be published on an outside public domain, and then send me a link so that I can look at the code and see if it is a working code on that public domain. Remember, both these steps has to be completed for you to get complete credit. I want not only the zip file uploaded onto the assignment folder, I also need the public domain URL to be sent to me as part of the assignment. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you.